Hey everyone, welcome to the Big Roos podcast. I'm super excited today. Remko, tell me how to say your whole name.
It's very common. I don't know why you don't get it, John. It is Remko Bloemhard. It is
Bloomhard.
my parents are from the Netherlands, uh, so
Nice, nice.
little fun fact.
Delaurier is not even how you're supposed to say Delaurier, so I feel
Oh,
you. I feel you. Well, I'm
perfect.
super excited to have you today. You have a company that's definitely filling a gap in the roofing industry that we see all the time in the roofing groups. Hey, the supplementer here. Hey, insurance process there. And we're going to kind of break down today a lot of different aspects of that. And hopefully this podcast will be helpful for anyone who is wondering how to do what you're doing and then maybe just improve their existing process. So I am super excited to talk to you today to hear your insight. Let's dive right into it. Tell me what's SuppTrax and how did you get into the insurance supplementing world? What's your background?
So I've got as you can tell by the gray hair and lack of hair, I'm a little older, so I've got a very wide background. But I did after COVID started. My job in the past was life insurance sales, and we dealt mainly with seniors. And as you well know, with COVID, you couldn't go into their homes, and seniors were, a very risky or a high risk population, so we couldn't do that. So my brother-in-law actually was a insurance adjuster, independent, and I'll never forget. He asked me one day. He's an amazing individual. He graduated West Point and played football for West Point. Shout out to Dan Cox there. But he asked me, he's like, "Can you just drive me around while I do my claims?" And he was swamped. I remember one day we actually did 17 claims one day, and basically I was just a glorified chauffeur. And while I was driving, I looked over and he would be writing his claims. And so getting to talk to him, I said, what kind of income? What's the worst part of the job? He told me the income. I was shocked. Then he told me the worst part of the job was writing claims. And so I decided to get my license, and he was right. Writing claims was the worst part. So we came up with an idea to go overseas, work with a group of individuals, and have them start writing our claims for us. So we went over there, taught them Xactimate, actually taught them Symbility as well. And then they started writing our claims for us. Now we could turn 3 to 4 times as many claims as anybody else and be more profitable. Once the, and all I do is deployment. So once deployment slowed down a little bit, I reached out to several roofing companies. And I'll never forget, in 2021, there's a company here in Columbus, and they're the top 5 of the country. And I had some mutual friends, and I got in front of them and I said, "Listen, I would love to write your claims for you, because you have to, submit them to the insurance company." After about 45 minutes of just talking to them, they said, "We don't need that, but what we need is somebody to do our supplements. Have you supplemented before?" And not gonna lie, I lied to them. I said, "Yeah, we do it all the time." And so I quickly went back overseas, taught my staff on how to do supplementing. We started supplementing for them. We didn't do all their supplements, but we did about 25 to 40%. And then we started picking up other contractors, and we started growing. And one of the things that we noticed right off the bat is we tried to find a CRM out there on the market that would help guide us through their daily process of what claims to contact, you know, where are we in the process, how much are we actually getting. And the only thing we had at the time, because there was no CRM, was we created Google Docs on and on a Google Drive, spreadsheet on Google Drive. And that worked well while we're doing maybe 100 claims a month. Once we started doing 400 claims a month, I'll never forget, I lost a very good client of mine. He's actually a good friend, and he reached out to me in 2022, November, and he said, "Listen, I can't use you anymore." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "There's been some lack of contact for up to 21 days, and we pride ourselves on every 48 hours." I thought he was full of crap. We looked at it, and sure enough. And it's just the antiquated spreadsheets of Google Docs, things just fell through the cracks. So we sat down and decided to create a CRM. And we've expanded on it many, many times. At first, it was just a track every 48 hours. Um, then it was, what is our, what are our other KPIs? What's the average is, how much are we actually collecting per week, per month for this contractor? Um, and even more important, we'll get into that later on as well, but it drills down a little bit more than that. And then my 8-year-old daughter, we're building this and we're like, what are we going to name this? My 8-year-old daughter said, it's Dad, it's supplement, it's tracking, call it SuppTrax. So I have to give hat off to my daughter for coming up with that name. Now she wants royalty. So we tested it internally for about 18 months, actually about 24 months, worked out bugs. There was a ton of bugs, I'm not going to lie. I worked them all out. And after that, coming out on the other side, we noticed that there's still no CRM specifically for supplementing. So we decided to take it out on the market and work with different contractors and other supplement companies to offer that product. I do want to be very clear that we are not a roofing CRM. We don't claim to be, we don't want to be. So what we really consider ourselves is a bolt-on. I'm sure, with you being with ProLine, it's amazing products. A lot of our contractors actually use ProLine. The supplementing process itself, there's a lot of communication between the insurance company. It's just, if we put all that information into the roofing CRM, such as ProLine, it will just be lost in the muddle of all the correspondence and everything else. So we actually take it offline, and we consider it a bolt-on to any CRM. We take it offline. We can track all of our communication, track our statuses. We call it the Domino's Pizza Tracker app. You can see exactly where it is in the status, submitted, fighting, do we need final from, insured, etc. So that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Yeah, I love it. That's we talk about the Domino's Pizza Tracker quite a bit, actually, because we pride ourselves at ProLine to be that activity feed that everyone on the team knows. And so as we integrate with SuppTrax, and we're going to figure out, we don't have the answers exactly right now, but we will figure out a way that there is communication in ProLine's activity feed, but it doesn't overwhelm the users and just the system in general, so that SuppTrax can still do its job, and the way that you guys operate will still happen in the background as the bolt-on. So that's, as a roofing contractor, that's my idea of like how SuppTrax would work. If I still had a business, I would want to have specific updates in my activity feed, but I wouldn't need to know everything that happened for that entire supplement. So
I
we'll
think
work.
that's a great
We'll let
point. And
we'll just let
I apologize.
the tech guys do all that. They'll figure all that out.
Exactly. I think some of the key points, like you're saying, is, when it was submitted to the insurance company, it would be great to
Yep.
have that in your ProLine feed. We received it revised. We need to get it back from the insured, something of that nature. I think those important milestones, if you will, are documented in ProLine as well as SuppTrax. But then the everyday back and forth. Yes, we called, we left 2 messages, we sent an email to the DA, et cetera. That does not need to be in ProLine.
Yep. Love it. So let's kind of move on. We talk about the Facebook groups all the time. They're constantly
Mhm,
saying who's a good insurance supplementer, who can help me with my
mhm.
insurance process. In your opinion, in 2025, who should be supplementing roofing contractors' insurance claims?
I think any insurance claim itself should be supplemented. And that's coming from the side of me that's still an insurance adjuster that does deployments. It's Do you see what I'm saying? So, and a lot of times I also hear, and this is a common misnomer, is that I don't need to supplement it. It's ACV only policy. Those also need to be supplemented. The insurance adjuster, I don't care how good they are, they're going to miss some things in the
Yep.
field.
Yep.
It just, we're human.
Yep.
There's also other things that cannot be uncovered until production. And is it a code item? Is the thickness of the decking in place for the spacing on the rafters, for code and everything else? That is, a lot of times, is not available to the adjuster at the time of inspection. So I truly believe that any insurance, residential insurance claim, actually even commercial, but any insurance claim itself is and should be supplemented.
Yep. So when you're looking at from that perspective, and roofing company owners are looking to hire someone because they just can't do it themselves. They don't want their sales reps doing it. That's a common theme. That's probably a good strategy in general. Um, let's kind of break down the internal versus an outsourced supplementing like situation. Let's talk about the pros and cons from your perspective. What is the pro and con for having somebody internal versus an outsourced way to supplement the claims?
I think, an internal, and I think I'm not saying it doesn't work. It does work for some contractors. The When you have an internal supplement team, a lot of times they're just brought in and they're not really trained. They're brought in and say, fight this. They don't know. I think the best supplementers internally are going to be a seasoned roof sales guy or consultant. But then again, when you look at that, he's not making money while he's on the phone fighting the insurance company. He's making money while on the roof. So it should be a separate department fighting for that. And your sales guy should be on the roof and making money that way. But if you are going to do it internally, I would definitely take that supplementer and have them out in the field with the sales guy, with the roofing consultant. I see a lot of times where we've stepped in and taken over for internal supplementing. These people don't have any idea what the difference is between a laminate or composite. They have no idea what soffit is versus felt. I mean, it's literally that drastic. And unfortunately, we see that a lot of times with the desk adjusters as well that we have to deal with. Um, Funny story, the other day, we actually had a desk adjuster ask me what soffit was. And so unfortunately, the training just isn't normally in place for an internal supplementing team. So, but if you were going to do one, I'd send them out with the actual consultant or sales guy for a period of time. Let them get on the roof to see all the different components. Start sending. There are some great classes out there. Start sending them there. It is going to be less expensive to do it internally. I mean, it's your people. You're paying them by the hour or something of that nature. When you go external, you don't have to worry about the hiring, the firing, the training. You don't have to worry about time off, personal time off, et cetera, sickness. And it's this very seamless transaction. Everybody on that other team, whether it's our team or there's some great supplementing companies out there. They've been in the business long enough. They know the ins and outs of supplementing, and they will maximize your profit for you.
Here's how roofers make it home for dinner every single night without losing a single sale, even when they're one-man shows. Automate your communication with ProLine, the only communication-first CRM for roofers. Because when you fix your communication, you'll sell more jobs. Your weekends will smell more like sunscreen and backyard barbecues than that crappy gas station coffee. And all you got to do is ask these roofers.
Where we had about 200% growth, and I attribute that to incorporating ProLine.
But just with one automation, I was able to get 25 Google reviews.
It's been absolutely insane how quickly we were able to grow.
Now, ProLine's not going to win the beauty pageant, but it will save your Saturday. Now, back to the show.
Love it. We're kind of going to jump ahead. You're making me think about something. I was going to kind of touch on this at the end. We'll touch on it one more time. This is kind of like one of the final questions, but like the pricing for SuppTrax, I'm kind of pulling it back to the internal versus outsourced. What's the pricing structure right now for SuppTrax?
So SuppTrax, the actual CRM or the tech side is if you have one location, it's $299 a month or $3,000 per year. If you have multi locations, it is $499 a month or $5,000 a year. There's no extra cost for different seats or different licenses or anything else of that nature. So it's really a flat rate between one location or multi-location.
Got it. So with that being said, would it be a fair statement to think that that is an incredibly affordable option compared to, I know that you said, you're paying somebody hourly if they're, the way I see internal supplementers, they're either untrained, just like what you just said, and they're very affordable. Or they are very well trained and they understand their value and they're much more expensive as far as an overhead expense. Because if you got somebody, even if they're working remotely, there is payroll tax. Let's just get down to it. Like there's payroll tax involved. And so you are, and all the other costs associated with an employee, it's much more expensive than having an outsource. Because I've used outsourced supplementers before because of the financial benefit. Now, what you guys do is so much better than what I was using in the past because you actually have an activity feed to understand what's going on. There's accountability. There's actually, it's just more effective in general. But I just wanted to point that out because from a business perspective, what you guys offer has tremendous value for what you're doing. There is, like I said, accountability and there's effectiveness for what you're offering, but it is actually more affordable than having a full-time employee or even a part-time employee that you're paying all of their expenses that goes along with it. So I just want to point that out. We'll talk about it again at the end, but I think that people need to see that from the beginning that like this is a very, very affordable option that has incredible value.
I think it's, I appreciate you hitting on that again. I think that it's very important to know that if a supplementer is doing their job correctly, it's literally, they say 1 claim per year and it pays for itself. I think the other thing too, that a lot of times on internal supplementing, it truly is probably the most profitable department you have in your roofing company. That you have no extra lead cost. The job's already sold, and now we're just getting the extra amount that's owed on the claim itself. So it goes straight to the bottom line. So when we look at that too, on the internal supplementing and also third party, there is no anything to track the effectiveness of your employees. So basically, with SuppTrax, we're actually able to drill down and see days to close. So currently, right now, across the board, we're running about 19 days to close, which is very strong for us right now.
19 days to close, people. That's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome.
That is, and it's cash flow. It's cash flow. But then we can also drill down per employee. Okay, so I might have one employee that's closing in 13 days, but let's say their average is 2,700. I've got another employee closing in 21 days, but their average is 5,200. So that person that's closing a little bit long, takes a little bit longer to close, they're fighting a little bit harder and they're getting more dollars. So sometimes you really have to look at your employees and drill down. Is the cash flow, the turn, quicker turn more important for us right now, or maximizing the profit on the claim? Now that's a huge discrepancy between the two that I just showed you. But a lot of times, if we see somebody that's now pushing for, we're at 19 days, if somebody's doing 27 days, and we see that all they're really doing is fighting for an extra $200 or $300 for a little bit of extra drip or something of that nature, then is it that really worth it? No. Then let's go ahead and close it out. Let's stop it and take a little bit less, but let's turn that money a little bit quicker. So that allows us to track that and find out which employee is most effective, and then work with the ones that need a little bit more training. Also, in that vein of thinking is, time is money. And how many times, on the supplementers, I don't know if you've ever had to supplement yourself on any of your claims, John, or talk to the DA, but a lot of times, I think the average for us right now for State Farm is like 36 minutes to get a hold of the DA. So we finally dial the number. 36 minutes later, we're on hold. We finally get a hold of the DA. We work on that claim only to hang up an hour, 2 hours later, we find another claim with the same DA. Now we have to go through that process again. So with SuppTrax too, we're actually able to, once we get John Smith, the DA, on the phone, we could filter our claims by that DA, by that desk adjuster, and say, by the way, we've got another 4 on your desk. Let's discuss these. So it's cut out 4 extra hold times, which is 2 hours. And we're able to maximize our time on the phone with that desk adjuster once we get them on the phone as well.
That is huge. You mentioned that to me over a couple months ago. And I was thinking the same thing of how when I was running my own claims and supplements, and we had the same guy, and we're like, if we just knew that this was actually the same guy. We wouldn't have to keep going back and forth. The inefficiency was crazy. So that is a huge advantage where technology and the process actually increases the efficiency so that your profit increases. That's a huge, huge difference.
We put that little filter in, and after we did that, our time to close dropped by 11 days, John.
Yep, I would imagine.
So
That makes total sense.
absolutely. So, and again, that's just some of the different features that we do offer that it will actually put that money back into the contractor's pocket that much faster and make everybody, and look, it also affects morale. It's
Yep.
just, you want to bang your head against the wall if you're on hold for
Yep.
2 hours trying to get a hold of a desk adjuster in one day versus being on hold once and knocking out 4 of the claims. So the morale, and then also they're mentally sharp when they finally get a hold of the desk adjuster, right? They're just not kind of zoned out waiting for 36 minutes, and they're really not on top of it. So when they finally get a hold of him, they're trying to catch back up to that claim because they're doing other things while they're waiting. So now they're focused, they're on that claim, they knock out the other 3-4 claims, and it's a lot more effective that way as well.
I like it. This is making me think about how ProLine handles follow-up for all kinds of things. Sales follow-up is the most common one, but do you guys have a system? Do you have something built into SuppTrax that helps with automated reminders? I know that it's very nuanced and every claim is different, but do you have any so in ProLine, you can literally, if a customer says, hey, I'm making a decision on next Friday, you hit 2 buttons, boom, next Friday, boom, and it's gonna actually text and email that customer on Friday, so that even if you're on the boat, your phone just followed up with that customer. Does SuppTrax have something like that, or at least in the works, to make sure that your communication and follow-up is better?
It's First of all, hats off to ProLine. So our supplement company, we deal with all the big dogs. The communication level that's built into ProLine, I truly think is second to none. It's amazing. But back to your question, let's say we get a hold of that desk adjuster and they said, listen, we just got this claim. I'm going to take 3 days off personal time, PTO. Give me 5 days to take a look at this. We don't want to call him every 48 hours because he's already told us it's 5 days and he gave us a good explanation why. So you can actually set your next follow-up for 5 days later. So then when that 5 days hits, it pulls up on your dashboard. This is who you need to contact. So you can customize the next follow-up date. And then you also put in notes on why. So everything in life is relationships, whether it's our children, whether it's our friends, family, neighbor, but it's also with supplementers and desk adjusters. So how powerful is that when I talk to that desk adjuster, he's like, I tell you what, give me 5 days, reach out to me in 5 days. I'm taking 3 days off on vacation. When I call him in 5 days and I finally get a hold of him, I can actually say, how was your vacation? And all he's doing is answering phones and probably people yelling at him and just beating him up all day long. And then all of a sudden this angelic voice comes across the phone and says, how was your vacation? Tell me about it. And all of a sudden it's just, so it also gives you that personalized, if you work it correctly, and you use those notes to your advantage, it is tremendously beneficial.
I love that. You're speaking my language, because so one differentiator of ProLine is that it's a phone system. So every phone call is recorded. Well, at the end of each phone call, you've got the dictation, you've got the recording there. You can listen to the whole conversation. But we now have a little window pop up and you can dictate in your phone or type in your phone and write the notes there. And it won't let you move on until you do that. That's on purpose. That's so that we have the little things like you went on vacation. We can have those actual personal connections that we knew we were supposed to have, but it's been 5 days. You don't remember. So I do love that. I love that you're focusing on the relationships for the supplementers and the desk adjusters, because you're totally right. Like, they're getting yelled at all day. And if they have this supplementer's calling and be like, hey, how was your trip to Florida, or whatever the thing was, that's a huge, I sold one job a long time ago where she said she's having surgery next month. So guess what?
Yes.
I followed up a week after her surgery was over, like she asked me to. I said, "Hey, hope the surgery went well." And we literally sold the job without talking to her again, just because I was the only
And I
one that
guarantee
remembered.
exactly. Exactly. And the beautiful thing too, John, is so we do have a library of insurance companies and then desk adjusters. So as you build in your claim, you'll click on, for example, State Farm, and then we'll scroll down to Nolan Smith. So we click on Nolan Smith, it automatically populate his um, phone number, his email, and then how many times have we worked and we started to build rapport, and the desk adjuster say, I tell you what, instead of sending it to claims at statefarm.com, this is my this is my more direct email. So now we can put those notes in that library. And talking to a Lily from Allstate, she's like, "Oh yeah," she's like, "I'm so excited! I'm getting my first grandbaby next week." Now you start putting in notes there. So when you do pull it up and do talk to Lily, how's that little grandbaby doing? And it's true. It's a lost art anymore. Is that sales is a relationship, it's rapport, but that is tremendously beneficial for all aspects of life, including supplementing.
Love it. So when we talk about what you guys do, I know people are listening and watching like, okay, well, I know I need a supplement. Who in your let's
Mhm.
break it down and get real nitty gritty. Your ideal customer, and sometimes this changes as our
Mhm.
companies grow because the ProLine is the same way. We thought we had small customers, 1 to 5 million, and we're really more like we have a bunch of small contractors. Don't get me wrong. They love us. We have one-man shows, tons of them. But we have a lot of people who are in that $5 to $40 million range. For SuppTrax, currently, as you know, your company, who's the ideal customer? If you're watching or listening and you're like, I need SuppTrax, who do you want to work with? Who can benefit the most from your service?
It truly is across the board. It's the one man show. I've got a gentleman um, in a very rural area in Ohio. It's a two-man show, but they use it extensively. And believe it or not, he doesn't even use a CRM. Um, it's the only person I know that actually works. I mean, that's how small they are. But he's very, very effective. He's very profitable. But he uses this to do his supplements. We also have some groups that are doing literally over 110 million a year that are using this extensively. So we've seen the benefit across the board of people that are actually utilizing it and the benefit from that. The beautiful thing too is, like I said, we have a single and also multi-location. So on the multi-location, especially if you're doing internal supplementing, you can have different permissions set. So you might have somebody that looks over all supplement for all 10 locations. Then you have the branch manager of those locations only be able to see their location. Then you have the individual supplementers. If you have more than one, the person on the 30,000 foot level could see all supplementers, all employees doing supplementing. But then if you're the employee doing the supplementing, all you can see is your own direct. So, and then you can also set up permissions. Can that branch manager actually edit the claim or just view only? So there's a lot of different, you could customize it to what you're looking for. Also, the statuses that I kind of went over with you earlier, I think we've got 14 or 15 statuses. You don't need to use all those statuses, but you can actually change the name of the statuses as well to your company language and what you like to see.
Love it. Yeah, so definitely scalable from super small to rather large companies. That's encouraging to know because there are a lot of other companies that just don't fit certain molds, but it makes sense the way that you guys have it set up that you should be able to service the whole industry. Well, let's kind of go toward the final advice. What do you see? What's next for supplementing the roofing industry? I know things are changing a lot. Do you think that there's something that's on the horizon for SuppTrax, or how are you tracking? I know that you guys are thinking about it all the time, but what do you see in 2025 and kind of in the future for supplementing? Because the behavior of insurance companies has changed drastically over at least my,
Tremendous.
12, 10, 15 years in the space. So what are you seeing as the future of supplementing?
I think, and you also seen legislation change too, not just the insurance companies and the company and the industry as a whole, which of course directly affects. I think that there will always be that need coming from, again, this is from the adjuster side now. I'm independent. I've worked for, I think, 37 different insurance companies. I think there's 9 that I will not work with anymore because they literally will tell me to go out and write for this, this, and this, but not this. They very specifically do not write for this or that. And what the insurance company is praying is that, 80% of the time, the contractor is not going to push back and get that extra amount. And when you take that amount, let's say it's $4,000 times 100,000 claims per month, you could see that affects your bottom line very quickly. So unfortunately, there are some very specific cases where do not write for this, that, and the other. Also, like I had stated before, we're human. We are going to miss things. I do a lot of hurricane deployment, and unfortunately, there's no way you could see everything. I mean, the house is half torn down, and you're making a very good educated guess of the materials that were there before, the spacing, or what kind of decking, and so on and so forth. But a lot of times, you're going to miss things. And that's so. I think supplementing is always going to still have a place with the roofing industry. And I think that it's going to be, unfortunately, we see more and more, you actually see insurance companies now get dragged in front of Congress. And I think that you're seeing that more and more where the third party is fighting on behalf of the roofing contractor, the policy holder, et cetera, is going to be increasingly more powerful and needed.
Love it. Love it. Well, this is a huge need. I mean, roofing contractors need to have a solution. We obviously see, I know, go back to the Facebook groups, but like it just keeps getting asked. I mean, it hasn't stopped. People are consistently asking who supplements, who does their insurance process. So I really think that SuppTrax is positioned to be that solution. And if you guys are watching or listening, where can they reach out? How do they find you? Where do they go? What's the best route to get a hold of SuppTrax?
Sure. So I think one of the things that I would like to bring up one more thing, if you don't mind, John.
Sure.
You can have the best supplementers, whether it's internal, whether it's third party. But if you don't have good pictures, you're not going to get any supplements. Okay. Those pictures, I cannot stress enough, those pictures tell the story. If you don't have a picture of it, it didn't happen. And a lot of people don't know how to take pictures or don't know what to take pictures of or take too many pictures of the wrong thing and not enough pictures of the right thing. So one of the things that we do as a supplement company is we educate our contractors, okay, this is what we need photos of in order to maximize your claim. And a lot of them, they're just absolutely dumbfounded that, well, we didn't think of that. And it's not just when we educate, we're not just saying take a photo of the soffit or the overhang, but we also explain why. Especially in states that need ice and water. Are we more than 10 inches out? So did we have double roll? Make sure we have the pitch gauge on the slope for, there's so many, but also educate on why we need that photo. So that's been a huge, I think, a missing piece in the supplementing. A lot of people don't even think about that. They just go back straight to the supplementers and say, here's the claim, go fight for it. But they don't give them the necessary ammunition. It's like showing up to a gunfight with a knife. So in order to get the right ammunition, you need the right photos. So one of the things that we just developed is a checklist that people can actually, and I don't know if you can include a link on your podcast, but I could send that to you. It's a free downloadable photo checklist for supplementing that anybody can download, and it will increase your supplementing. It will maximize your supplementing wins or dollars. But to go back to your other question, you could find this at, SuppTrax.com. That's SuppTrax.com. And there you can learn about that. There's also, we have some links, you can find us on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. You could find I've done some very full demos, very detailed demos, I should say. They're on YouTube. You can find those on there as well. And it kind of drills down a little bit more about the product. So yeah, you can find us across any social media, or just go straight to SuppTrax.com.
Love it, Remko. Well, I think that checklist actually is hugely valuable. I was working on one as well for my company, and it's essential. I mean, if you want to maximize your supplement, you need to have a standardized process that you can actually see the things you need to see. And my wife was a nurse a long time. She said if it wasn't documented, it didn't happen. Same thing in supplementing. So thanks again for coming on. I
Exactly.
think this is hugely valuable to a lot of people. And thanks again, everybody, for watching the Big Roots podcast. Have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you so much, John.